You ever notice how fragile mornings are? One small crack, one lonely thought, and the whole day shatters. Maybe it's a notification that shakes you awake. Sorry, we're going in a different direction. Let's reschedule. Or no response at all. Your feet haven't touched the floor, but already the day feels heavy. Tension coils in your chest. Frustration creeps in. And deep down, there's that ache, not just stress, but that quiet, lonely sense that maybe, just maybe, the world is slipping out of your hands again. It's like the universe pokes at you before you've even had a chance to breathe. But now, imagine something else. Same text, same letdown, but this time you don't spiral. You read it, place the phone down, and say to yourself, I expected this, and I am still whole. You shower calmly, eat slowly, you're not rattled, you're ready. That version of you, that version isn't an accident. It's not about having fewer problems or being born more stoic. It's about building, step by step, the mental habits that shape how you interpret the world and ultimately how powerful you feel inside of it. Because strength isn't about suppressing emotion. It's not pretending you don't care. It's responding with clarity when the world gives you chaos. And Stoicism is the blueprint. Let's be real. Modern life is a barrage. We carry supercomputers in our pockets, feeding us envy, fear, outrage, and somehow we still feel lonely 24/7. The economy shifts, relationships strain, health falters, goals crumble, and we're told, just hustle harder, think positive, manifest better things. But the Stoics, they didn't chase hype, they chased inner mastery. Thousands of years ago, men like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca faced the same emotional storms, just dressed in different robes. Betrayal, uncertainty, responsibility, loss. They asked one hard question: how do I stay upright when the world tilts sideways? And their answer wasn't magic. It was practice, habits, simple daily rituals that rewired how they thought, how they judged, how they responded. And the wild part, neuroscience now backs them up. These ancient practices don't just offer wisdom, they act as tools to literally rewire the brain. They calm the amygdala, the fear and fight center. They strengthen the prefrontal cortex, your seat of focused judgment and self-control. So this isn't just a list, this is a mental gym, a toolkit for your mind, for your clarity, for the person you're becoming. Let's begin with the first. 1. The morning reflection, becoming the weather, not the forecast. Marcus Aurelius started his day with one clear thought. What am I likely to face today? He didn't paint it pretty. He called it like it was. The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant. It wasn't bitterness. It was preparation. Because when you expect resistance, it loses its power to rattle you. You're not ambushed by it. You're already anchored. In today's world, that might look like this. You sit at the edge of your bed. The light hasn't fully risen yet. The room feels still, maybe even a little lonely. Before you grab your phone, you breathe. You whisper to yourself, someone's going to cut me off in traffic. My coworker might be cold. My partner might be distant. Something I care about might fall apart. And then calmly, without flinching, you add, and I will handle it with grace. This isn't toxic positivity. This is Stoic philosophy in motion. It's called premeditatio malorum, the practice of visualizing setbacks before they arrive. Not to live in fear of them, but to meet them like old acquaintances when they come knocking. And here's the surprising part. Modern research shows that people who mentally rehearse adversity, athletes, soldiers, leaders, are less reactive when the real moment strikes. Their minds have already walked the battlefield. Their emotions are no longer strangers, they're companions. 5 minutes of honest morning reflection can change your entire emotional architecture, because now you're not reacting, you're responding. You're not the storm, you're the sky holding it. And even if the day feels uncertain, even if a moment feels lonely, you are not lost. This is the quiet power of Stoic philosophy. It doesn't promise to make life easier. It teaches you to become stronger. 2. Voluntary discomfort, starving the fear. Let me tell you about Seneca. He was one of the richest men in Rome. He had power connections, a palace. And yet at least once a month he would sleep on the floor, eat coarse bread, wear the roughest tunic, and ask himself, is this what I feared? Now think about that. Why would a man with access to every pleasure choose to live like a beggar even temporarily? Because he knew something most people don't. The fear of losing comfort is more paralyzing than the loss itself. And unless you train for loss, it owns you. Seneca was teaching his nervous system that he didn't need wealth or luxury to survive. He was hardening his mind against the soft poison of comfort addiction. In modern terms, try this. Skip the elevator, take the stairs. A cold shower instead of hot. A fast for 12 hours and sit with your hunger. Sleep without a pillow for a night. Go without your phone for a day. Not because you're trying to suffer, but because you're training. Each small act of discomfort tells your brain, I can do hard things. I'm not a slave to convenience. And over time, that changes you. From someone who fears life without comfort to someone who can thrive through anything. You see, every one of these habits is like oxygen to a fire, and the fire is your potential. Modern society wants to coddle it, wrap it in comfort, make you dependent. But Stoicism hands you the flint and says, strike, burn, become light for others. Let's keep going. 3. The sacred pause, the millisecond that changes everything. You've probably been here. Someone says something cutting, your blood pressure spikes, your jaw tightens. You snap back maybe with words or just with that deadly silence. Later you regret it, but in the moment, it felt automatic. Epictetus would disagree. He taught it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In other words, the event didn't cause your suffering, your interpretation did. And here's where the sacred pause comes in. Next time something stings, don't respond. Not yet. Pause, breathe, count to 5. Then ask yourself, what story am I telling right now? Because between stimulus and response is a choice. A sacred space where strength is forged. Modern psychology calls this cognitive distancing. And neuroscience proves that people who learn to pause before reacting have a calmer amygdala response, which means fewer stress chemicals, lower blood pressure, more clarity. You don't need to scream back. You don't need to be right. You just need to choose your response with intention. Here's a technique next time you're triggered silently. Say, is this mine to carry? Most times the answer is no. You release it. And in that pause, you don't lose power, you claim it. 4. The nightly audit, the mirror that doesn't lie. By the time the world goes quiet, the distractions fade, the dopamine rush from your day wears off, and you're left just you and your mind. What do you do in that silence? Seneca again had an answer. Each night he would replay his day like a general reviewing a battle. Where did I fall short of courage? Did I overreact? And was I kind when I could have been cruel, or vice versa? He wrote, when the light has been removed, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've said and done. It wasn't for shame, it was for alignment, because only by reviewing your day honestly can you improve your next one. In practical terms, you can do this too. Journal 3 sentences at night. 1. What did I do well? 2. Where did I fall short? 3. What can I do better tomorrow? That's it. You're not judging yourself as a failure, you're coaching yourself. This process strengthens your brain's self-awareness loop, and people who do it nightly develop faster emotional maturity, stronger decision-making, and more consistent personal growth. Think of it like brushing your moral teeth. You don't wait for decay. You clean a little every night, and slowly, you begin to respect the person you're becoming. Here's the hidden truth about strength. It doesn't come from one heroic moment. It comes from small choices repeated daily in private. When no one's clapping, when no one's watching, that's where Stoic power is born. And we're not done yet. 5. Negative visualization, taming the mind's wild imagination. Imagine this: you're holding your child, or walking beside your partner, or sitting across from your best friend. You smile, you feel grateful, and then a thought enters like a ghost. What if I lost this? Not to torture yourself, not to spiral, but to remember this moment is a gift, not a guarantee. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, not just anticipating hardship, but visualizing loss. Now this might sound grim to some, but to Marcus Aurelius, it was the opposite. He wrote, "Don't think of things as eternal. Think of them as borrowed and returned." When you visualize loss calmly, you don't become morbid. You become aware. You stop sleepwalking through life. You don't scroll mindlessly while your child speaks. You don't let resentment linger during a conversation. You don't postpone your dreams with someday, because someday is the most dangerous illusion we ever believe. Try this once a day. Close your eyes. Visualize one thing you love, gone. Not to punish your heart, but to wake it up. See yourself without that job, that person, that comfort. Then open your eyes and feel the rush of gratitude. Not the fluffy kind, the sacred kind. This habit changes how your brain encodes memory. It builds presence. It dissolves entitlement, and slowly the complaining voice inside you quiets. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start whispering, "Thank you for now." 6. Purposeful discipline, choosing the hard thing on purpose. We live in a world addicted to ease, want food, tap a screen, need validation, swipe right. Bored, open the algorithm. It'll drug you with dopamine until your willpower is dust. The modern mind is overstimulated and undertrained. But the Stoic mind, it's forged in the fire of intentional hardship. Discipline to the Stoics wasn't about punishment. It was about liberation. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." So how do you master yourself? You choose the hard thing on purpose every single day. And I mean small, hard things. Wake up on the first alarm, not the third. And make your bed with care. And read instead of scroll. And sit with discomfort instead of soothing it immediately. And say no, even when yes is easier. Not to become robotic, but to reclaim ownership. Discipline is the act of telling your brain, "You don't run me, I run you." Here's the kicker: neuroscience shows that each small act of self-discipline literally strengthens the prefrontal cortex, your decision-making center. That's not just a habit, that's rewiring. You're building a mind that can delay gratification, manage stress, and make sharp decisions under fire. And the longer you keep at it, the less you'll crave comfort, and the more you'll crave challenge, because you'll finally trust your own strength. At this point, ask yourself, are you training your mind or reacting to life? Because life will test you. Someone will lie, something will break, a dream will collapse, a friend will fade, and in that moment, all your quotes and books and affirmations won't save you. Only practice will. That's the Stoic difference. You don't just study the fire, you walk through it daily so that when the blaze comes, it feels like home. And that brings us to the final habit. 7. Amor Fati, loving the fire, not just surviving it. When you've lost, when you've been betrayed, when you've failed, most people either resist or collapse. But the Stoics, they did something radical. They loved it. Not in a delusional way, not in a toxic positivity way, but in a deeper, fierce way. Amor Fati, love of fate. It means this: don't just accept the pain, embrace it, own it, make it yours. When Marcus Aurelius faced war, plague, loss, and betrayal, he didn't curse the gods. He wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." That line isn't just poetic. It's a spiritual posture. It says, whatever happens, I will turn it into power. That breakup fuel, that rejection, refinement, that failure forging. The mind trained in Amor Fati doesn't whine, why me? It says, try me. And over time, this habit changes your relationship to suffering. You stop fearing the storm and start becoming it. Modern research calls this post-traumatic growth. The brain, when trained to interpret adversity as challenge rather than threat, releases different chemicals, dopamine, not cortisol. Growth pathways open, resilience forms. This is no longer just theory, it's neurology. Amor Fati is the final form of mental strength, not tolerance, not numbness, but joy in the middle of pain, not because it's easy, but because you've trained for it. Every pain you've endured, every disappointment, every time you thought it was over and kept walking anyway, you weren't breaking, you were carving. And now, you stand with the chisel in hand. The world will give you its storms. But you have your 7 habits. You reflect in the morning, you embrace discomfort, you pause before reacting, you audit yourself honestly, you visualize loss to amplify gratitude. You choose discipline over ease, and you don't just accept fate, you love it. Each one is a blade. And every day you show up to train, you sharpen it. You're not soft, you're forged, not by chance, but by choice. If you're watching this right now and something inside you stirred, if a part of you whispered, I want that calm, that strength, that presence, then don't let this video just inspire you. Let it initiate you. Pick one habit from today, just one. Practice it every day for a week, then add another and another. This is not about perfection. This is about alignment. You don't need to become a Stoic philosopher overnight. You just need to become the kind of person who trains like one. Every day, every moment, every breath is a chance to step into your highest self, not the loudest version, but the clearest, strongest, and most grounded one. So take it, walk forward, and when the wind rises, let it find you unshaken. Let's return for a moment to that quiet morning. You sit on the edge of your bed. Before the day begins, before the texts, the emails, the pressure, you sit in silence. You don't rush. You don't reach for your phone. You breathe. And you remember the Stoics, not as statues or distant figures, but as men who walked this same earth, faced heartbreak and chaos, and still chose strength. Deliberately, patiently, daily. You remember that Marcus Aurelius rose each day not to conquer the world, but to conquer himself. That Epictetus was born into slavery but walked freer than most emperors. That Seneca, surrounded by power, practiced loss so he wouldn't be owned by it. You remember that Stoicism isn't about shutting off emotions. It's about being able to feel them fully without being ruled by them. And most importantly, you remember this. The power you seek isn't out there. It's already inside you, waiting to be practiced. Maybe you're wondering deep down, can these habits really change me? Can reflection, discipline, discomfort really rewire who I am? Let me answer not just with philosophy, but with science. Because every one of these 7 Stoic habits, they do more than feel noble. They restructure your brain. MRI studies show that regular mental reflection, like the morning and nightly reviews, strengthens the medial prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for self-awareness, long-term planning, and emotional regulation. Cold exposure fasting and voluntary discomfort have been shown to reduce overactivity in the amygdala, the fear center, and boost dopamine in healthier, more sustainable ways. Even negative visualization, far from depressing, trains your neural circuits to adapt calmly to stress and appreciate the present with more intensity. This is called neuroplasticity. It means your brain isn't fixed. It's clay, moldable, shapeable, and you are the sculptor. But here's the catch. The clay only shapes when touched daily. This isn't about reading Stoic quotes on Instagram. It's about living them, quietly, repeatedly, especially when it's hard. Let's paint a picture. Two men walk into a storm. One screams at the clouds, curses the rain, stomps and flails and demands the sun. The other, he tightens his coat, lowers his head, and walks forward. He doesn't love the storm, but he respects it because he knows what it's building in him. That second man, he's not the loudest in the room. He's not the one getting the applause, but you can feel the gravity in his presence. His words are measured, his temper grounded, his heart still open but not naive. He's the kind of man people turn to in crisis, not because he has the answers, but because he has the anchoring. That's what Stoicism gives you. Not a mask, not a performance, but a spine made of something deeper than ego. So let me ask you something bold. Who do you become? If you live like this for a year, 365 mornings of quiet reflection, 365 nights of honest review, 365 days of chosen discomfort, measured reaction, realignment, and reverence for the moment, who do you become? Maybe the stress doesn't vanish, but it no longer owns you. Maybe people don't always treat you fairly, but you stop needing them to. Maybe life still throws storms, but you stop flinching. Instead, you start growing, not louder, not harder, but deeper. And soon people around you feel it. They come to you not for hype, but for truth. Not for chaos, but for calm. That's what Stoicism does. It doesn't promise you ease, it gives you edge, grace, gravity, and in a world that's starved for substance that makes you rare, one day someone will ask you, how are you always so calm, so steady, so focused when everything else seems to be falling apart? And you'll smile, not with pride, but with peace, because you'll know you didn't get here by luck. You got here because you practiced. You reflected in the morning when it was easier to rush. You chose discipline when indulgence was one click away. You paused before speaking, even when your ego screamed. You embraced discomfort when comfort begged for you back. You said yes to fate not because it was easy, but because it made you better. And in doing so, you rewired your brain, you sculpted your soul, you led quietly but powerfully, not with fear, not with force, but with philosophy, the kind that doesn't just change your thoughts, it changes your life. Now before you go, ask yourself, what will I do with this? Will you nod, feel inspired, and scroll on? Or will you choose one habit today and begin, because the only difference between the man you are and the man you want to become is what you practice when no one's watching. So here's your challenge. Pick one habit and write it down. Do it tomorrow, do it the next day, then do it again. Stack them slowly. Watch your mind change. Watch your mood shift. Watch your world respond differently because you are different. Let this be your pivot point, not because Stoicism is trendy, but because your soul craves structure, stillness, and strength. And it's ready now, so go. Lead yourself first, and the world will follow. If it is endurable, then endure it. If it is not endurable, then stop complaining. Your destruction will mean its end as well. Marcus Aurelius. Remember, you're not fragile. You've simply forgotten how strong you truly are, and the Stoic within you. He's been waiting quietly to rise.